Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. The Ondo State governorship race is drawing attention not only within Ondo State, but throughout Nigeria due to its complexities and large number of aspirants, especially within the APC. On Friday, February 23rd, the Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa announced his candidacy for the upcoming governorship election scheduled for November 2024 in the state. Aiyedatiwa assumed the governorship of the state in December 2023 following the passing of the former governor Rotimi Akeredolu SAN, who died after a prolonged illness in Germany.
Governor Aiyedatiwa said he wished to contest and win the governorship primary of the All Progressives Congress, scheduled to take place in April, adding that within the short period of his assumption of office, he has put the welfare of the people first by ordering all contractors back to sites to breathe life into the hitherto abandoned projects. At least 25 individuals have indicated their interest in participating in the April 2024 governorship primaries of the All Progressives Congress APC in Ondo State.
The party yesterday released the timetable for the Ondo primary election and will begin sale of expression of interest and nomination forms from the 3rd of April to the 10th of April. The expression of interest form to the governorship election is pegged at 10 million naira, while nomination form sells for 50 million naira. This morning, our focus is, of course, on the government of Lucky Aiyedatiwa and how he has been able to steer the ship of governance in the state over the last 3 months as the Chief Executive Officer of the state. And joining us this morning, we have Honorable Olugbenga Omole. He's the Special Advisor on Information to the Ondo State Governor. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
We had a conversation with you a couple of months ago, I believe, just when there was a lot of crisis in the state, with the health of former Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. In the last 3 months, maybe getting into its 4th month now, Lucky Aiyedatiwa has held the mantle of the state. So I want to start with asking, from what you would say has been, the assessment, on his ability to manage the state in the last 3-4 months.
Yeah, in 6 days' time, Lucky Aiyedatiwa will be 3 months in office, because he assumed office on December 27 after the demise of our leader and former governor on December 26. So, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, the governor of Ondo State, hit the ground running immediately. He was sworn in, like you said in your intro. He ordered all contractors to go back to site, and that we can see all over the place in Ondo State. And apart from that, a couple of days ago, he flagged up rural roads, and last week at the Executive Council, we approved a whopping 3.47 billion naira. Ondo State basically is an agrarian state, and as we approach the rainy season, which indicate the beginning of farming season, that is very critical. Yes, another aspect he has been taking the welfare of the people of Ondo State as his priority. WAEC exams, WAEC fees were paid for students in secondary school. About 2,000 teachers will be employed anywhere from now. Even in the health sector, employment is going on. So he's following the path of his predecessor. Like I keep telling people, it's the same administration. This is Akeredolu Aketi administration, but now it's just the head of that administration that changed. So you don't expect less from Lucky Aiyedatiwa from what Aketi has been doing in the last, which he did in the last 6.5 years.
So it's safe to say that the citizens of the state can now say that even though Aiyedatiwa is in office, they can boldly say Ayewatida.
Yes, it is everywhere in Ondo State. It's Lucky Orimison Aiyedatiwa, and that name is prophetic, as you can see on the day of their inauguration on February 24, 2020. Our late governor was prophetic. He was not only prophetic, he was saying, because that's Aketi for you. Aketi will say his mind and we eat the nails on the head anytime. It said, your name is Lucky. You can only be a deputy governor if you are lucky. Orimison, that's in Yoruba. And said, now, Ayeti that here. When I go down, you are stepping up. And that was why this war started, this political war, because there are a lot of people eyeing that seat. Yes. And that endorsement from the governor, and that endorsement did not end there. I can confirm to you because today, by the grace of God, I'm a member of the Executive Council, and I have some of my colleagues who are Executive Council with Akeredolu. in the last executive council Aketi held before he fell sick, he still mentioned it to them that Lucky is going to succeed him. So, and because some of these aspirants now were in that council, so they know the truth. So anybody that say otherwise is just telling. But we are not even hinging our work or success on that endorsement. We are working, and politics is not affecting governance in Ondo State, like I tell you. Yes, the governor has his eyes on the ticket of the APC, but he did not abandon governance. Governance is going on smoothly in Ondo
State.
State. Yeah.
Let's talk about endorsements. And the pink elephant in the room would be the rumors that have come out as to him allegedly attempting to offer members of the assembly $10,000 each, or take, I think, 18 of them, 10 to 18 of them, I guess, to Abuja so that they can endorse him for APC. Yes, it's been denied. So, but I want you to give us a clearer picture as to where that may have come out from. How did that rumor, arise? Or is it really a rumor?
It's a rumor.
Yes.
And I can confirm to you, it's going to happen because that was not the first time. Like I said, I was a member of the night, I was part of the night assembly. And it was funny when a couple of days ago, the present majority leader, who was my colleague in the night assembly, said the House Assembly does not have the right, or they have never endorsed any. And we have a clip that is, has gone viral, where we, the APC caucus in the assembly then endorsed Aketi. We did not even, we contributed money to be part of the people that paid for his expression for him. And we even went to Abuja. We went to meet the national chairman of the party then, Senator Adam Oshomole, and we told him that we endorse Aketi. So for somebody who was part of that, because he personally has another aspirant who is apart from the governor, yes, anybody is free to support, but I can tell you today that in the Ondo State House Assembly, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has overwhelmingly majority among the members, and they are going to endorse him publicly.
Why does he have this support? Is it because he got the endorsement of Aketi before Aketi passed?
That is not, I've said that endorsement, yes, Aketi endorsement is good. We like it and it's good for us. But then, in the last 3 months, they have seen in Lucky, a governor that has listening here, they have seen it twice in these 3 months, a selected member of the Executive Council and the House Assembly have met. Yeah, it doesn't happen like that in the past. We have met, we have discussed on developmental issue of the state, and they see in this man that this man, they have access to him, this man listening, and all their requests, the official requests, what they are entitled for, is not delayed. So for them, as they are politicians too, and they have political future, and they have ears, they see what is happening in those states. So they have to join the moving train. And if you don't join the moving train, the train will just leave you at the park. So that is it. The majority member of the Ondo State today are supporting the governor, and they have endorsed him.
Yeah, but isn't that a little dangerous? Because if their role there is to represent the people of Ondo State, shouldn't that level of followership and allegiance to the governor be? The members of the House Assembly does not just go there. They have leaders in their constituency. They are representing a constituency, so they listen to their constituents, and I think their decision is informed by what they are taking from their constituents, because in Ondo State today, virtually all critical stakeholders are with the governor. That is the truth. On 12th of March last week, he officially declares his intention, and you need to see the caliber of leaders. For the very first time in 7 years, the elder caucus have not sat down to hold a meeting. They did previously and in last week, and they decided that they are going to support the governor. The elder caucus are the engine of the party, and these are people that have seen it all, and these are people that you cannot induce. You understand? So, having taken cognizance of everything that is happening in Ondo State, and they said this is the man that they need to support, and because they know they have access to him, he listens to them, and he's doing what a governor should do, which is what he prioritizes, the welfare of the people. And people are really, in these last 3 months, you need to see him when he was going to the party secretariat. His vehicle was blocked by people, artisan, market women, and they were just, showing love to him. When I hear that, I still want to question why. Because, to a large extent, I believe that, many Nigerians don't really know what to expect from governments. Is Ondo State in the last 3 months, or maybe, even during Governor Keredolu's time, does it now have, the best health care, in the Southwest? Does it have, the lowest, infant, maternal mortality rate? Does it have the best security, infrastructure? Does it have, best educational, infrastructure for? So, so what is the reason behind this love that you're speaking of?
Number one, people saw the way he was treated when he was the deputy governor, the purported impeachment, and they saw in a man that is all this while he never heard anything from the governor. Okay. He didn't say anything. And even at the time he apologized for not doing anything wrong. So for that, the majority of Ondo State people fall in love with this man, that for a man that has been bruised, a man that has been degraded, a man that his office has been abused, and he never show it. So that's the kind of leader they want. Talking about all these developmental issues, yes, Ondo State may not be in the best in Nigeria, but we are getting there. Government suffer in the last 10 months in Ondo State, no doubt. You know that, because I don't have to go back to that, but because we are just picking up now, and for a governor that is less than 3 months in office and he has done this much, so they saw that, they now believe that this man that has done this in 3 months, if we give him the chance for the next 4 years, definitely he will do more. And that's exactly what we expect from the government. You see, the quality of leadership we have at times and the quality of governance you have depends on the character and the intellect of people that surround you.
I agree.
You have what Akeredolu has and what Ayedatiwa has around him now are magic men. And these are the things that we translate into the...
Well, I don't know about magic men, but I want to...
I'm not saying magician, but people that can think out of the box and give solutions.
Help me define, or explain further what you mean by can do more. Do more in what regard? Because I want the people of Ondo State to have a clear definition of what they would expect in the next 4 years if he becomes the winner of the elections. What parameters do we use to rate his performance?
You see,
what does he plan to give to the people of Ondo State? Aside, he's a humble person, he's kind, people have seen that he has a good heart. Okay, there's that, but governance, development.
A couple of days ago, the president of Nigeria charged state governor to, keep on paying the 35,000 wage award that was. Ondo State is not lacking. We are doing that. Then, in the terms of payment of pensioners, we are doing that. I won't come here to say payment of salary that is normal thing anybody should do, but some states are owing. We are not owing. And having said that, on infrastructural development, I just mentioned that he flagged up rural roads. And in a couple of weeks, a very, very important road that will change the landscape of the Southern Central District. We got license for Port Ondo, and the government is thinking on that direction to make that area a business hub. A road that will link Lekki to Ilaje, a road that is less than 47, is around 48.7 kilometers, that will take you from Lagos to Ilaje in 40 minutes. You can imagine. Presently, they take by from Lekki to Ilaje. So that road will be flagged off, and you know what that means for that place to open. Ondo State have the longest shoreline in Nigeria. That's a fact. So we want to take advantage of that. And this is normal in Nigeria. To me, it is wrong, but you see, most times, the area a governor comes from has more development than other areas. That's in Nigerian politics. And they see this man, this is the first time an Ilaje person will be governor of Ondo State. So the people of the Southern Central, particularly Ilaje, are enthusiastic about it. And they know that development they have been yearning for. This is an area that has been in darkness for years. But I can assure you that in a couple of weeks, we are lighting up the South.
Is this Ondo South you're talking of?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about Ondo South for a little bit. An APC chieftain, Shola Olatunji, came out to say that the Governor Ayedatiwa should show his ambition to run for office in 2024 elections. And the reason he gave is that Ondo North and Ondo Central have each used 8 years in office. And it's time for Ondo South, because the people in Ondo South, in the interest of fairness and equity. So, do you agree, or do you think that there's some logic to his argument?
There's no logic at all. Why I say that is that, Ondo South alone does not determine who governs Ondo State. Okay, now you're saying, wait, that 8 years is not sacrosanct. The first one you have is 4 years. and he's not sure you have the second term. So what I'm saying in essence is that Ondo Central, which has a chunk of the vote, are happy that the governor will come to the central quickly because Oloki will be there. And that's why they are, even Ondo North. So if he's saying that, fine, that is his own personal opinion, and that is what some of these aspirants are selling to. But you have to, we have something now, a bed in hand is more than 10,000 in the bush. Lucky Aiyedatiwa from Ilaje is the governor.
So there's nobody in Ondo South. You don't think that that's something that they should, in the interest of them feeling like they need to be a part of governance, you don't think that that's an argument that people of Ondo South have?
Lucky Aiyedatiwa from the South, and being a governor, definitely development will happen in that place, and development will happen. You think you didn't get what I said? Ondo South alone do not determine who governs Ondo State. Ondo Central are happy that maybe after this 1 year of Aketi and Aiyedatiwa that is want to finish in February 2025, and when he gets the ticket and become governor for another 4 years, the Central, because there's an unwritten agreement in Ondo State, and we respect that. We rotate this governor. You know, Aketi was from the north, and unfortunately he couldn't finish it. And that was the wisdom in the governor, because ordinarily most time when governors come from the south in Ondo State, deputy always come from the central. But because of the unexpected death of Aketi and to appease the people of Owo, the governor in his wisdom, he didn't even discuss, it was a master stroke. He picked his deputy from Owo, a kinsman of Aketi. And that has really changed the landscape of politics in Owo. 95% of critical political office holders, politicians and leaders in Owo have endorsed Aiyedatiwa for this race. And I don't know, but I know that eventually when he picks his ticket, people will think that we want to agree that we pick his deputy from Central. So the issue of people saying Aiyedatiwa being the governor will deprive the South of having 8 years. The 8 years is not guaranteed. You don't run for governor 8 years at once. Yeah. You ask for 4 years. So who knows that after that 4 years you may not be even given this. So what we have in hand now is what we are guiding. And like I said, Ondo Central is happy in Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa because they know after his 5 years, this 1 year and the 4 years that by the grace of God they will get, the governor will come to the central and they are waiting. You understand? So they too have that opinion. So if you have opinion that because Aiyedatiwa want to be governor is depriving the South of having 8 years, some people are happy too, and they have the majority of the vote. Akure South has the largest voting strength in Ondo State. And an Akure man has never been governor of Ondo State. So they have the eyes there. And that's why they are supporting Lucky. So everybody has his own interest. The person that made that statement, that is his own personal interest. There are thousands of people that have opinion and interest and that. So yes, you can say that, but then people too listening, people too have ways of, you see, like I said, Ondo South alone do not determine who becomes governor of Ondo State. We have the North, we have the Central. The Central are happy with Lucky, the North are happy that Lucky will be governor, so that this thing will come back to Central and, somebody there.
So that means your rule of rotation doesn't really hold water?
No, it's rule. You are not getting it. That's why this is time of the South. Okay. That's why you see 90. I don't think anybody is even coming out from the Central or North for governor now. Majority of the aspirants are from the South. And when we talk the South in Ondo State, we have the core South, which is Ilaje, Eseodo. And that is where everybody is looking at that the governor will come from. And luckily, we already have a Lucky who is the governor and who is from Ilaje. The area that people are looking at, that is where we want our next governor to come from. And this is where the governor has they've not had a bite of the cherry. And they have a young man, a listening governor, somebody that's humble, somebody that is on with the Afenifere in Ondo State, somebody who is on with the market woman, somebody who is workers friendly, somebody who, all the artisans, today, after this year I'm running, today in Akure at the International Event Center, a lot of support groups are raising funds to buy his nomination and expression form. By 10 a.m. at the International Event Center Dome. I will be running late for that event, but I think I will still catch up with them. So for us in Ondo State, we are lucky that we have somebody that God, you need to see his journey. That's what I tell most of these people, that everybody, his journey is divine.
Yeah.
That means he's destined to be in that position. It is not by him, he has God. And he's a very big God for that matter.
Yeah. Even if, a lot of people are already skeptical when they say that people are gathering money to buy form for
It's real.
before
This
it-
is real.
I know, it happened before,
Yeah.
in 2015, or when President Buhari was.
Yeah.
We see how that turned out. There's something that I want to ask. I hope that you can speak on extensively, at least. I've seen the conversations around the Ondo State governorship race. I've seen the conversations around, some of the aspirants. But there's one thing that I've noticed is brewing in the Ondo State governorship election conversations, and that is, it's a piece of tribalism here and there. A lot of them refer, there's a 1,001 of these comments that I can share with you, refer to the wife of the former governor, Betty Akeredolu. So let me start with your thoughts or your comments on where the state is, or what the mentality is surrounding the former governor and his wife currently in Ondo State.
You see, I want to also respect the dead. Aketi was my leader, and I don't want to talk about his family for now. Please, I think you should excuse me for that, for the respect of the dead. Yes, everybody has their own personal opinion. Aketi was one of the best governors we have in Ondo State. Anybody, I don't care what anybody says, because Aketi speaks his mind always. He speaks truth to power, and he's an uncommon politician. And that is what we learn from him. So when all this drama started, during the time he was down and he was away from Ondo State, and we didn't hear from him, we know it was him, it was not Aketi that was speaking, because Aketi is not somebody you can keep incommunicado. Even when he was active as a governor in APC, he attacked the APC-led Buhari president, because that was why he was able to rally his colleagues, the Southern West governor, to launch the security network codenamed Amotekun, and that is one of his greatest legacy. And Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa is stepping up. In a few days' time, he's going to buy vehicles and operational equipment for Amotekun and other. We are not only dealing with Amotekun, we support police, we support the army, we support the civil defense. So I want to beg of you, I don't want to talk about.
I mean, you may not speak about her in particular, but I know that it's obviously a problem, because I've seen. Let me share with you some of the things, some of the comments that I've seen, and it's
very active on the social media, and a lot of things are going on.
So it's not necessarily to speak to her directly, but I want to share what I think is a concern. Some comments like this, all right? It says here, I'm not sure who this person is. It's a Suleiman, I think. It says, the person I pity the most in all of this is Olushola Oke. There's nothing wrong with having a non-Yoruba first lady, but the Betty experience being a recent one might skew the voting pattern against him. And then goes on to say Betty should not be used to generalize all Igbos or non-Yorubas. There's another one here that is just too disgusting.
Like I said, I don't want to talk about it.
So not her in particular, but I want to talk about tribalism, and it's being weaponized in this election.
I want to say this. The former First Lady, Betty Akeredolu, is one of the best First Lady we ever had in Ondo State. Forget all politics, forget what is happening now, because she has so many programs for the girl child. My daughter benefited from this, and I can say that. But everybody cannot like you, and the way she do her thing may not go down well with a lot of people. But two, she might have done one or two things that she's not supposed to do. She's a woman, and she's not from this side. She's an Igbo. So
what do you mean by she's a woman?
Woman has a way. You are mostly emotionally. The way you react at times is different from the way men react. No puns intended, anyway, because I respect women and I love women. So, having said that, yes, a lot of people have some misconception about her. It may be true, it may not be true, because I'm sufficiently close to that family, and particularly, she did her best for the girl child in Ondo. So you can't take away that from her. That is the truth. Okay.
How would you say that Governor Aiyedatiwa intends, it's International Women's Month, and we're having this conversation, and now that you've brought up the former First Lady's gender, how would you say his administration is going to prioritize including women in his administration?
Definitely, presently, for the very first time, we have a woman who is the Commissioner of Finance, and the Ondo State women are happy about that. all commissioners are equal, but there are some super commissioners. The commissioner for finance is like the clearinghouse. All other commissioners have to go to that person to get their, warrant, to get their. So for the very first time, I think the governor is following the footstep of his predecessor and his principal, because Akeredolu was gender-friendly in his appointments. For the first time, a woman was made the secretary to the state government in Ondo State during Akeredolu. So now, the first female commissioner of finance, and there are a couple of women in the cabinet, and so many more appointments will be made. We are just, I think, because of this time, he has to mix politics with governance. He cannot have a full cabinet for now, because for obvious reasons, we are running for election. In less than 40 days, we have our primary and that. So I can assure you that Aiyedatiwa is gender friendly and is not taking the role of women in politics and governance lightly. Definitely, they will be part of his government.
If you get into office, we'll certainly like to have you back to do a review of his performance.
Definitely.
But I think the follow-up question I want to ask is, you've spoken so much about how much support he's gotten from the people of Ondo State and how much endorsements he's gotten from, he seems to be a very popular candidate.
He is. Okay. Not him, he is.
But the concern usually with candidates like that sometimes would be that if they end up getting the flag and they get into office, maybe he ends up becoming the governor in the next
governor already, yeah.
No, he's not yet the governor. The election. No, I'm talking of the next election.
I understand.
Exactly. If he becomes the next governor.
Yeah.
And the assembly, you've talked about how the assembly totally adores him, endorses him.
I didn't say all the members of the assembly.
But majority of them.
Of course, yeah.
Is there no concern that might be another version of the rubber stamp assembly?
No. That will not. That is not it. You saw what you see. Assembly members they are partners in progress. The legislative arm is an independent body, but then for the progress of the state, they have to work hand in glove. Of course, they will raise their voice if it's deviating from the path of good governance. I can vouch for a couple of them, although most of them are rookies. And that was why we had the initial problem we had in the assembly. I think the assembly is being stabilized now. They came in June. This issue of impeachment has started around September. They were less than 6 months in office, and most of them are even not learning. And when they came in, they went for recess for like 3 months for retreat and all that. So the experience was not really there. We just have 4 members as ranking member, as returning member. So the majority were, that thing just came in and they were being, they were being manipulated. What happened during the impeachments, I can tell you for free that it was influenced from the outside, because it is the same some of these aspirants. 2 of these aspirants are the major financier of that impeachment. I can say it, and the evidences are abound. So now I think they've realized their mistake.
Can you call their names?
I think they have realized their mistake, and they have now seen that their duty in the House Assembly is basically 3: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. And I think that's what they are doing. For them to even endorse Aida, that is part of the representation, because they hear from their constituents.
Yeah, just a final question from me. When you were speaking earlier, and of course, I'm no longer speaking about Betty now, but you made mention, you said, oh, she's not from here, or she's not, one of us. So,
but by marriage, she's an engineer of Ondo State.
Yeah, but you still pointed out that, she's not.
No, that is a fact, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to ask, is there, going to be a tribalism factor with these election conversations? That's one. And Igbos welcome in Ondo State.
Igbos are supporting Aiyedatiwa. You need to see a video clip. Maybe we still use the documentary on your channel. We have a documentary that will run very soon. You need to, they were chanting the Igbo song when accompanying him to the. So Ondo State is home for all. We have so many Igbos thriving, doing their business in Ondo State, and with nobody molesting them. And tribalism is not an issue when it comes to policy of Ondo State. Everybody all these aspirants are indigenous of Ondo State. No matter where they married from, we are not going to vote for their wives. They are aspiring to be governor, not their wives. And let's look at it. Even the office of First Lady is not even in the Constitution. What we have should be the wife of the governor. But then, for optics, for women to have they say, although we have the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development in Ondo State, who is doing a job. In fact, most time they work with the officers. So the office of the First Lady is not in our constitution. It's just something. It's ceremonial.
I just wanted that to be, an opportunity for you to also say to
There's no
people
tribalism
that may
in
have
Ondo
felt
State
offended by some of these statements that I've seen on social media. That's not what Ondo State is about.
Yeah, of course, definitely not.
Honorable Olugbenga Omole, we don't want to keep you waiting. We know that you have another appointment. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to having you after the elections, maybe before or after the elections.
And I want to say this. I want to appreciate this channel because you were there during the crisis we have in Ondo State, reaching out to us, want to know what happened, and I think I featured on your program like 2 or 3 times via Zoom from Akure. I want to give you kudos for that.
Thank you very much for your time. All the best and have a safe journey back.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move away from Ondo State to Edo State, where the House of Assembly on Tuesday directed the state's Chief Judge, Daniel Okungbowa, to form a 7-member panel to investigate claims against Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. The Assembly initiated impeachment proceedings against Shaibu for alleged constitutional breaches and accuses him of misconduct and releasing government information to the public. The panel will investigate claims and provide recommendations, and the outcome will determine if Shaibu's impeachment will continue or not.
Now, Philip Shaibu had earlier refuted claims of receiving an impeachment notice from the Assembly. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja has refused to grant an ex parte motion filed by the Deputy Governor seeking an interim order to stop the impeachment process by the State House of Assembly. Shaibu in the suit sought an order of the court restraining the 3rd to 5th defendants from commencing any process by issuing a notice of allegation, holding proceedings, or setting up any panel of investigation for his removal pending the hearing of a motion on notice. However, in his ruling dated March 13th, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, declined the Deputy Governor's prayers.
Well, there we have it. That's a quick update. We'll be bringing you more updates as they come from Edo State. It's been quite the time and quite the journey for Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. And we will go on a break now, or rather, we'll be bringing you a segment where we ask very, very pertinent questions, holding the government to account right after this break.
Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has assured residents of Okungbowa community in Delta State, where several army officers were gruesomely murdered by youths suspected to be members of the community, that there will be no reprisal attacks, especially on innocent citizens residing in the community. The president also made his position known on the recent kidnap of school children in Kuriga, saying that no ransom will be paid for their release, as the Nigerian military is on top of the situation and will ensure that those kidnapped will be reunited with their families. Our correspondent, Amading Uyi, tells us more.
It's been one incident after the other, as the nation has reeled from one tragedy after another. While the recent murder of several military personnel in Okungbowa community in Delta State has continued to generate reactions, President Bola Tinubu, while condemning the attack, however, assured residents of the community that innocent citizens will not be caught in the crossfire. This position was made known by the nation's Minister of Information and National Orientation.
As the Commander-in-Chief and as someone who is also very passionate about having a peaceful resolution of every situation, he has asked for calm. He has asked that the community cooperate with the armed forces so that we can fish out those who are the perpetrators of this act. And he has also asked and enjoined members of the armed forces to also limit themselves to only those who are involved in this. Of course, all those involved will not go unpunished, but of course, the president has also made it clear that the punishment of those who participated in this crime will not also affect innocent lives. Those who are not involved will surely not be punished.
The minister also assured families whose words were kidnapped in Kuriga in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, saying they will be rescued and returned safely home. He says that no ransom will be paid as demanded by the bandits and urged them to place their trust on the nation's military.
I want to assure Nigerians that the armed forces and the security agencies are working round the clock to ensure that these children are reunited once again with their family members. They are going to come back. This is a message that the president has always reiterated. It is sad, it is unfortunate, it shouldn't have happened. It has happened. The armed forces are working round the clock. The government would not accept the payment of ransom in any way, form, or shape. The Nigerian armed forces have the capacity to deal with the situation diligently and carefully, so that more lives will not be lost.
While the event in Okwama continues to shock citizens, President Tinubu assured that those responsible will be brought to book. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And that is a very important, of course, update to that story. Very important message also from the president, assuring the people of Okwama that the right thing will be done and perpetrators will be brought to book. Because everybody wants the perpetrators to be brought to book. What everyone is simply asking for is that there are no reprisal attacks and there's no more deaths. No more lives need to be lost in Okwama or anywhere in Nigeria. I recall, in the last couple of days, there have been, many people who have made mention or have called for the place to be leveled and for, reprisal attacks and for the army to, to pay them back and some crazy things like that. Totally crazy. And I believe that these things are coming from many, many years of traumatic experiences that we've dealt with that we don't even know are traumatic experiences. A lot of Nigerians need therapy.
Yeah, you said it.
They absolutely.
And it's unfortunate that therapy is very, very expensive, even here in Nigeria.
They need therapy. They need therapy to change the way that they think. I think for many years when we saw happened in OD, we saw the Zakibiam, we saw Zaria in 2015. And these things have happened in the hands of your own military. So at some point you start to think that maybe it's normal. That's why, I think that a lot of people need therapy to cleanse your mind and let you realize that this is completely abnormal.
To sort of, Nigerians have become numb and desensitized. So to sort of put some feeling back and let you know that, look, it's not normal.
There's also the part where they're just also very wicked, because if it's not going to be affecting you directly, you can simply sit back in your house or in your office and say, oh, the army should go and wipe them out. It's insane.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's bring you the front pages of the newspapers. Joining us this morning to review the papers is Public Affairs Analyst Olusegun Okunade. It's a pleasure to have you as always. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're looking very sporty this morning, like your money has arrived though.
Well, if you take that to be money arriving, one thing I know is that just create the happiness for yourself.
Honestly, if you look at the things
when you look at things around, and you want to think about them on a daily basis, you collapse. It's not yet time for us to collapse because a lot to enjoy. Don't be overwhelmed with activities. Just create the fun and move on.
Lovely. Thank you very much for sharing that wise word of wisdom, because we need that motivation as we look through the papers. At the front pages this morning, let's look through the papers and we'll let you know that you can call in as well to share your thoughts on any of the stories. This Nigerian newspaper, big story, says, NAS to probe murder of 16 soldiers in Delta community. Akpabio says, I don't think killers are from Niger Delta. Killing assaults on security, stability of Niger Delta region, says Lawan. Reprisal. But managing the tension, says Oborewori. That's, of course, the governor of Delta State. Nnamdi Kanu promises peace in Southeast if out of DSS custody. Court refuses bail. Impeachment. Edo Assembly asked the CJ to prosecute probe panel for Deputy Governor Shaibu. And Zenith Bank appoints Umeoji as first female GMD CEO. I think that's a very important story. It took social media by storm, especially because it's International Women's Month. It's interesting to see more women in leadership positions. And I think the final story, produce details of 30 billion ways and means advances. Senate directs CBN passes 1.282 trillion naira FCT 2024 budget. Let's start with the Nnamdi Kanu story. He promises peace in Southeast if out of DSS custody. I'm sure you've seen the clips all over social media. And I wonder what he would do differently that would stabilize the Southeast in 2 minutes. Or how many minutes did he say? It was 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, you see, it's quite interesting the way and manner we individuals are taking over our security apparatus and giving promises. This is Nnamdi Kanu in the Southeast, Gumi in the North. You have those in the Southwest that will tell you that they understand the terrain of activities going on with the unrest, which our military find difficult to stop. I would rather say, rather than saying come out and then let's engage them in the military forces. They understand, because what we require is peace. And where there is peace, there is prosperity. So if that is the only solution that we feel will make things work, because as we speak, is in the custody and we have unrest, and the military and the security agency are finding it difficult to have a clue on how to make this unrest to be stabilized, then I think all we need to do is give us the clips, come, head our military head, and let's have a solution to this, because we've tried all. We've tried all. It's not only about Nnamdi Kanu. Look at every day. I looked at the story just in the month of March. Only in Kaduna, you have over 500 people being adopted. That is the ones that have been reported to us. There are some, 1, 2 in some areas that people are not having clue with. And you've heard Gumi come out to say, we can have dialogue with these people. We can help you. We can assist you. So it's become a free-for-all discussion where individuals understand people that I don't consider to be security personnel, having deeper understanding on how to manage activities. So I think the route of which people will say, let's do things differently, is my personal view to say, okay, if these are the people that will give us the peace that is expected, because while he was out, the unrest was there, you picked him up, thinking that that will bring the calmness, and we are not experiencing it, and he's coming out with that suggestion, then let's do something differently, rather, because I don't know what else we do. Is it that we now want to just kill him off and take him off to feel that the peace will reign? So,
yeah, but he has charges, that have been leveled against him. So he has to have his day in court, see if those charges will be dropped, and then, know what to do next. If we are saying we should release him, it means that we're going to accept that those charges against him were political, and not necessarily because there's any evidence, against him.
I keep saying there is that.
And also, when you say we have done everything has failed, I don't think we have. I don't think we've done, built proper policing structures, funded our security agencies well enough. We've not done any of that. We've been doing the same things on repeat for the last 20, 30 years.
If you say we've not funded the police as it should be, I baffled. It's the function of corruption in so many of our agencies. If you hear government pumping in money into military, into policing, you ask yourself, does it trickle down to some of the areas? I remember when we had NSAS, the government was the last administration was so key about it, on certain things that they needed to do about the welfare of the police. And we saw those things coming out and taming the tension. So for me, we've done a lot. If you look at what we've invested in security agencies, both military and the policing, it's enough to grow other arms of the sector of the economy. But we have not seen the desired result expected from. We are talking of the Southeast. Look at what happened in Delta. Look at what is happening in the Northwest. Look at what is happening in the Northeast.
Yeah, but the answer to that should not be to then have these leaders of these regions released to calm, the nerves of those people. If you say we've invested enough in security agencies, we've not seen the results, the response to that should not be, okay, let's have Gumi settle the north, let's have Nnamdi Kanu come and settle the southeast, let's have, some other, maybe Asari Dokubo go and settle Niger Delta. That shouldn't be it. We have to figure out why we've invested that much money in the police and it has not produced any results.
It's not the way to go, you will say that. But for me, if you have tried every option and pumping in so much money, so then do something differently. Okay. Let's see whether that will give us a different approach to it. It's not something that we want to say that is the route to go. Yeah. But we've seen that individually, these people seems to have understanding of how those operations are being carried. Because I keep asking myself, how Gumi will come out boldly to say the kidnapping of 280-something students. We have understanding of how this thing goes. Come and let's dialogue. Dialogue with who? On what premise? I read in the dailies this morning of several billions of naira being paid by farmers to some of these bandits, and we cannot track some of those activities going on daily basis. We keep hearing those information, and we are talking of food scarcity.
I mean, so it's a very sad situation.
Situation.
And there's another angle which we won't visit. Thankfully, we'll have a lawyer joining us. We're going to be talking about Nnamdi Kanu's release, especially. I mean, you've talked about it from the standpoint of doing what is good for the country, but there's also the standpoint of what exactly are his rights and, his health concerns. But that's another conversation. Let's move to another paper.
Let's go to the Punch newspapers next to see what we can find over there. Just a reminder of viewers, you can join the conversation. The numbers would be on your screen. Call and share your thoughts with us on these stories. If you, of course, looking forward to Nnamdi Kanu being released, that there will be peace in the Southeast in 2 minutes. We'd like to know, if you agree with that or not. On the Punch this morning, reign of terror, 165 farmers killed. March, farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion naira. 130 farmers killed in 4 Benue local government areas, 28 in Sokoto. Sorghum production falls by 90% in Borno. Benue farmers lose 1.1 billion naira to attacks. It's so sad. So sad. All the writers of that story are so heartbreaking. 30 trillion naira loans. Senate uncovers fresh infractions. Summons Cardoso. Reps to quiz minister over $300 million malaria loan spending. And also shareholders excited as, of course, Zenith Bank gets a new MD, a first female GMD, Moji. We can also find here, federal government names 15 terror financiers, BDCs, plans sanctions. Sanctions. All right. Delta bloodbath. Governor meets Tinubu. National Assembly demands thorough probe. And also, abducted editor asthmatic family laments. NUJ demands release. Let's start with the Delta bloodbath, with the governor meeting the president. We see this happen every now and then where there's crisis in the state. It happened in Lagos where Governor Sanwo-Olu ran to Abuja to go and present a report and pictures to President Muhammadu Buhari back then. We saw Governor Seyi Makinde, I believe, do the same thing when there was an explosion. Why do they run to the Federal Capital Territory? What reports do they need to go and share with the president about what's happening in their states?
Yeah, it's the security architecture that we have. It's the center that controls all. Even a DPO will not take decision. A CP of a state will not take decision in the state without carrying the IGP at the center. So even if he has the authority, if he has the wherewithal of what to do, he must have the approval of the boss, which is the IGP. And that's why we've been calling for situations where we can have state policing, where the governors can have control, firm control on what goes around in their state. They all need to go there because if he takes any action, it can be considered to be politically motivated without the approval of the next thing will be who approved this decision, on what premise. Even if he calls the IG, what is the stand of the president? Because every of the security agency reports to the president and not to the state governor. And that's what we've been saying. Can we decentralize this power to the subnational in such a way that this that has happened in Delta State, the governor on his own can know who and who to talk to, how he can go around and make sure that this does not go beyond, because in the process of going to Abuja, doing this, other menace may happen. We are talking, look at the meeting the military had with, when the governor visited the area, the military banned the journalists from, having a coverage. And you cannot, what do you think was actually going on in that discussion that was not ready to be made public? So I feel that this is speaking to the fact that we need state policing. We should be able, before now, I think while I was very young, I've heard about security votes to the state. I've known of several states where the kingmakers in those states are actually fighting governor of their own, possibly fair share of the security because it's not accounted for. We can go the route of saying, now we have state policing, the state governor, who is the CSO, the chief security officer of that state, is responsible. Then we can go all out as citizens of that state to say, sir, this is happening in my locality. If something happens in the interior of Ikorodu, it needs to get to the governor. The governor needs the CP. The CP needs approval from the zone to the IGP. And it's the IGP that will now say, okay, if there's a situation, this is what we'll do. I feel this is now calling for state policing. And if we are serious about security, this is the high time that we feel that this should come to manifestation.
I mean, it's a fair point there, but I think some of all those things can be done via Zoom. There's no need wasting state funds to fly to the FCT.
No, the physical meeting, you need to understand the body language of the person you are visiting so that you can pass that along.
Quickly also share your thoughts on the way that the whole crisis has been handled so far. The president, of course, in the news said that they will investigate properly and, there will be no reprisal attacks or any of that sort. Do you think it has been handled properly since, the news broke about the killing of the soldiers?
Yeah, well, for me, the president has actually done his best. But my fear always is you give an instruction, you see other things happening, and nothing will happen to whosoever perpetrated that act. We are currently saying there won't be reprisal. The military men may have that act. But do you know what the junior ones might come out to do? Look at what happened between the governor and the military guy at Ojo, You can say your own. Some people might just feel that this is a slap and will carry out some act. And it will be, because as we speak, I don't think we've been able to apprehend anyone responsible for this act yet. I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think by now, with the investigation, we should be hearing about 10, 20, 15, because you see, it is, you need information gathering. The people around will definitely provide information to say, these are the people that carry out this act, these are the people that carry, even if they, because they need the protection of the military. You cannot come in and think that you definitely, otherwise you'll be picking wrong people. They will tell you these are the people that we know masterminded the act, these are the front burner with this communal whatever, and these are the team they engage. Because most of the time, those that are actually carrying out that thing have actually paid people that will carry out the fighting on their behalf. So these are the people that you point to. As far as the president is concerned, he has given the order. The military, military cadre will follow. But most of the time, there are certain things that go on the ground with some of the junior officers that want to feel that it's a slap on us and we want to take our own reaction. And when such thing happens, it will be the normal thing. We'll just close the case. But what would have happened would have happened. At least this is different from the way Obasanjo handled his case of OD to level the ground. I'm saying that let's experience calmness, we'll investigate. But most of the time, our investigation takes longer than necessary.
Yes.
And if actions are not taken, the other party feels slighted and they may act against the word of Mr. President.
Well, according to reports, arrests have already started being made. I just wanted to double check because I know that I had seen that. And the Punch does report that they've made 20 suspects have been arrested so far.
Really?
But, yeah, so as we...
I hope they are the right set of people to...
And I hope so too.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so too. All right, let's move away from the Punch newspaper to the next one and see what the front page of that one is saying. The next paper we're going to be looking at this morning is the Vanguard newspaper. Still talking about the Delta killings, 3 suspects nabbed, moved to Army headquarters in Asaba. And then there are some, sub-stories under that. And here we can see Senate probes killing, calls for recruitment of more policemen. Oborewori briefs Tinubu, says there won't be further attacks, notes that situation is under control. Clark condemns killings, urges military to exercise restraint. Investigate Delta killings, reps tasks military. Flags flown at half-mast as military begins a 3-day mourning for slain soldiers. Military moves swamp buggies to Okwama. Eze Federal Committee visits Akpabio. Edo Assembly directs CJ to set up committee on Shaibu's impeachment. We didn't renovate government house with 18 billion naira, says Adeleke. NFF appoints Finidi as Super Eagles coach against Ghana Mali friendlies. It is a fact. No, this one isn't necessary. This is an op-ed. Shiro Solar generating skipping that one as well. Let's go to the top of the paper. Edo gubernatorial elections, only 6 parties have filed nominations according to INEC, urges parties to stop granting unnecessary waivers to defectors. Why court refused Nnamdi Kanu's fresh request for bail? Zenith Bank appoints Adora Umeoji as first female GMD and CEO. And finally, CBN lifts restrictions on FX access for importation of dairy products. I want you to react to, we did talk about Nnamdi Kanu, and the first perspective we looked at was him not being released because of, you talked about the government considering his release because he had promised to bring peace to the South. But let's talk to the Southeast, I beg your pardon. But let's talk about the reasons, and his health concerns. He did talk about having a congenital heart failure. And he's been in custody for the longest time. Do you worry that continuous keeping him in custody? Yes, they've accelerated the hearing process, but do you worry that there might be adverse effects, especially because he's been in the DSS? He's asked to be transferred to Kuje prison, and the court said they cannot transfer him to Kuje prison because they don't trust the security architecture there. So do you think that this might in some way be, might cause a negative reaction from those in the Southeast?
Of course, we should expect that, and it's part of the problem we're saying. If the judiciary are not having confidence in the correctional centers that are built, we also what happened in Kuje to talk about that is to tell you that we are all saying there are lapses here and there. What are we doing to actually correct some of those anomalies? If you are actually with some, we should be able to obey the court order and keep him in Kuje prison if that's where you need to put it. And we've said it times with that number. The judiciary process needs to sincerely be looked into. The level at which we have cases lingering for so long. This one has to do with Nnamdi Kanu. I'm concerned even about corruption. And I always give my perspective from the as a finance person. Olive and my brother, do you know that the 100 million as at 2015, when you are accused of corruption, is not the same value as we speak. So if peradventure the government wins the case and you are asked to refund back the 100 million, is it going to do the same thing that thing would have done 10 years ago? The answer is no, because we don't charge interest on it. Ordinary you fixing that money for 10 years, the proceed on the fixing of the money, it's enough to set up another business and you pay them back their money. It's to tell you that there should be a way to look into this issue by the judiciary. We must gather all our facts and make sure that we expedite action with you. If it's culpable, let's say this is the act, bring out the case and push him. It's enough. We should stop this act of delaying judgment, adjourning, asking for all those. I'm not a legal person, but from the perspective of a layman, I think we should just do what we need to do, sharply know the next line of action so that everybody knows their fate. To say, okay, this is the judgment of the court, and we are just abiding by it, not speculating for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and nobody is able to react to some of those things. As is happening in terms of security, is happening in terms of corruption cases and all the like. So after 8 years, you are coming to say, okay, we will find you culpable, you are going to repay back the money. And I've asked, if you are going to repay back, you are going to find the current value of that money, and that's what you should pay. So that will serve as deterrent to say, if I do this, these are other punishments that we should do, because our court cases, I thank God we have a barrister there, lingers for too long across every area that you want to talk about. And it's as if most of the time we don't have the facts before we even start prosecuting the people that are concerned.
So sometimes that's not necessarily it's not as a result of the absence of procedure that should expedite speedy processing of cases.
Yeah.
It's just, some of them really, we've seen a lot of situations in the past year, for example, to show that people don't really respect the law as they should.
Yeah,
we've seen the executive flout.
A lot of that we've seen, and that's why we keep saying, as a leader, you must lead by example. If things are in your favor, you observe it, that it's good. If it is against you, then you come out and say, no, we have to use our power as the executive or as the leader not to obey the court ruling. It's really the inconsistency on it. So you are not setting good precedent for the younger generations that are coming. Because those that are watching now are seeing the way things have been done. And that's why we've seen ourselves where we are today. Those days you used to hear a situation where there are communal community, gathering of how you take care of people. But these days, because people don't see that, no, if this person corrects me, this other party is going to actually give me a safe landing. There is no collective or unity in our decision against things that are wrong, which is really not the way to go. I feel that the government, I owe the judiciary of high esteem, but they are actually creating series of lacuna. Even when the executive flout the ruling of the court, I want to believe there are laws that should put them back on their toes to say, this that you have done, this is the penalty. Majorly, the problem we have in this country is there are no consequences for any action. So when you do it, you go away with it. irrespective of where.
Like I say, I don't
are.
think that is the lack of the laws, but the application, you know.
Because those that to enforce it are not enforcing it in the right way. You give respect.
This is a conversation that we can go
Right.
into in depth. We have a lawyer joining us, Barrister Ivan Sufeli will be joining us to talk more about this.
And maybe before I round up, let me congratulate Adora, the first
Yes.
female. We are in the month of celebrating the
Women, yes.
women. So
Thank you very much for
congratulations to her, being the Adora. She has paid a price. Is a sector I worked with years back. Seeing her at the end of her fear, it's one of the things she has desired. Coming to Fusion is something that I celebrate. I know she will take Zenny to the next.
I mean, see the way all the women were celebrating.
You got to know. You know when
yes, we're so excited.
Of course.
We're so excited.
Maybe one
a
day
win for her is a win for all of us. It shows other
Oh.
women that it's possible to actually dream.
We
it
need
and
to
think about
consider how we celebrate ourselves too.
You people have been there since.
We'll
It's
be
not people
fine.
that have been MD,
We'll be okay.
GMD CEOs since.
right.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me this
All
morning.
right.
Yeah.
We'll be talking much more about some of these conversations, particularly the one about Nnamdi Kanu. We'll be joined by Evan Sufeli shortly, so please stick around and we'll be right back after this break. All right, welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the case of Nnamdi Kanu and the court, of course, refusing to grant him bail. We're joined by constitutional lawyer Evans Ufeli. And I think our first question would be your reaction to exactly how the court handled this and the court's decision not to grant Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. A number of people have said that his rights are being infringed upon. So I want you to further share with us your thoughts on that.
Well, for not granting Nnamdi Kanu bail yesterday at the Federal High Court is a further violation of his fundamental rights. The Supreme Court had said initially when the order for a trial of de novo, that the federal government actually, by their act, the extraordinary rendition followed by the act of going to invade his house while he was on bail, that led to his disappearance. And actually, it was an act of irresponsibility on the part of the federal government. And that the extraordinary rendition was also wrong and a violation of his fundamental rights. Okay. Having said all that, one would have expected that what a court should do, having brought a fresh motion for bail, is to grant him bail, because it is his constitutional right to be granted bail so that he can come for his matter from the house, from wherever he lives. But it is unfortunate that the court will descend so low to refusing bail. We know that bail is at the discretion of the court, but that is at one level. The position of the Constitution is that, every person, every accused person, is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. So at that level, bail is supposed to be the focal point at this juncture to grant him bail so that you restore the violation of his fundamental right, to restore him to the position where he was before the police, the soldiers invaded his home. He was already on bail in this same case, okay? He was already on bail in this case. That bail was revoked due to no fault of the defendant. And because it was revoked, when the Supreme Court had made clarifications on the issue, how be it that we had expected that he got the bail at that level. But now that they have reordered the trial, the court rather went into some jurisprudence of accelerated hearing, that it will rather not grant Nnamdi Kanu bail, but that will order for accelerated hearing to ensure that the matter is dispensed with expeditiously. But we know that our courts sometimes find it very difficult to dispense with cases quickly and expeditiously. So even when there's an order for accelerated hearing, it's still going to take a long time, because, this is the court of first instance that we're back to. Whatever outcome of this, parties on both sides may want to appeal, as we have seen before now, how they move from the Federal High Court to the Court of Appeal and to the Supreme Court. So it is not the right procedure. The reasons given for not granting bail were not cogent. I mean, he is held like the lawyer presented in the application for bail, that is having issues with his health, deteriorating health condition, and that the place where he's being kept is not good enough for a defendant or for the defendant. But you know, the Constitution made elaborate protective provision for citizens who have been involved or alleged to have committed an offense. The equal right that you exercise as a citizen who is not under trial. It's the same kind of right that a suspect who is not a defendant should exercise.
Yeah,
okay, because the case is on both sides. Okay, so he's not supposed to go through all this. How be it that the case is politically orchestrated, it has a lot of strings and all that. The fact that the case has a lot of strings here and there does not mean the court should bypass the law and then to act wholesomely on the discretionary powers it has under the law.
I mean, it might be a good time to also just ask that. You know, aside the legal perspectives, why do you think he's still being held? Because he's been, you know, in police custody for at least, you know, 5-6 years now. Why is he still being held?
Yes, he's been held by the DSS, okay, and his health condition has deteriorated. He's being held unnecessarily. Perhaps they may give the reason that he's susceptible to jumping bail, or he's susceptible to not keeping to the terms and conditions of bail. That has been the reasons they have given to the court, okay, citing the previous action that he left the country whilst he was on bail. But they also forget that he was on bail when the Nigerian army invaded his house, killed his family members, and for self-preservation, he left the country. He left the country. So, I mean, this is not to defend Nnamdi Kanu. This is to defend the law. That what the law says is what is superior. I don't have any interest in this case. I'm analyzing this dispassionately. That even if it were the other side that this was happening to, we would say that the position of the law should, because the Constitution says that this Constitution is supreme and its provision to have a binding force on all persons and authority throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the Constitution is supreme and the Constitution have a provision in Section 35, okay, and 35 and 36. And under the constitutional safeguards, you all have these provisions that a suspect must be treated like a suspect, not like a criminal. Okay, so if you treat him like a suspect, then the rights that accrue to him as a suspect must be observed by the court and by the adverse party. Must be allowed.
You've talked about him being treated as a suspect and not a criminal. In his statement, he talked about how...
I said the Constitution have constitutional safeguards for suspects, and as such, he should be treated as a suspect as provided by the Constitution and not as a criminal. He's being treated as a criminal now, even when they have not commenced trial, he has not been convicted. All right.
So obviously, I mean, I'm sure you listened to the video where he shared how he's been treated whilst in the camp of the DSS. He's talked about not having had access to treatment. He talked about having congestive heart failure and the medication they're giving him not working. He's also talked about how he's not been able to access his lawyers to be able to walk through a proper defense. There are just a number of things that have been said. So what remedies does he have going forward if he's saying that he's not being he's not been given access to his constitutional rights? What are the remedies that the court provides, and how can these be implemented? That the law, provides.
The remedy that is open to him is for his lawyers to appeal that ruling. The application for bail that has been refused by the Federal High Court. His lawyers should go to the Court of Appeal and to bring that case before the Court of Appeal on appeal and make that demand for his release on bail by the court. Okay, that is the remedy open to him. That is the legal remedy open to him. Other remedies may be political and all that, which I don't want to deal with, looking at the law strictly. Okay, the case will go to appeal. I mean, in appeal, you have the argument re-argued there, whether or not he deserves bail in the case under reference, and whether or not it is the law that the suspect should be presumed as innocent until the contrary is proven. Okay, if you say a man jumps bail, you have to also look at the condition under which he jumped the bail. Did he jump bail willfully, or he was exercising his right under the law on bail when the federal government invaded his house? And if that led to his, by virtue of self-defense and self-preservation, he fled the scene, and in the process, his parents were killed. Family members were killed. What else should he have done? If you define that to mean he jumped bail, it means you are turning the law on its head, because you are the one who went to obstruct the course of trial. The federal government went to obstruct the course of trial because at the time he was on bail, trial was still ongoing. Trial was still pending. The case was still in court. So if you instigated his flee out of the country, should you turn around and say, approach the court and say he should not be granted bail because previously he was granted bail and he jumped bail? That for me is not a proper legal reasoning. And for whatever reason the courts have refused him bail, thank God it's a court of first instance in the case under reference. There are still options of appeal under which he can actually ventilate his right as a citizen, as prescribed by the Constitution, to have bail as of right and not as of privilege. How be it that bail is at the discretion of the court? The Constitution is supreme.
Okay. Quickly also share, I mean, a lot of people already would say that it's pretty obvious he would almost never get a fair trial here in Nigeria. The thoughts or the claims of granting him an accelerated trial, what does that even mean? For someone who has, constantly been, had his court case adjourned for years now. What does an accelerated trial even mean at this point for him? Quickly, please.
Well, accelerated trial, what it means under the law, is what I will say. What it means under the law is that there's going to be speedy dispensation of the case. That means the court will not adjourn for too long, and the court will ensure that once witnesses are present in court, the court will go give the case priority to ensure that the matter is dispensed with early and a decision reached, so that he can go have his rights under the law, either out of the court or whichever decision the court would have taken. But for someone that is having congested heart failure, for someone that is medically ill, for someone who is not being treated well in detention, and besides, it's not even supposed to be in the DSS custody, it's supposed to be at the Kuje prison. Okay, so I do not know why, because perhaps the case has to do with treason and terrorism, as they allege, as the court have alleged. But you see, all these allegations, none of these charges have been proven by the court, okay, by the prosecution. None of these charges have been proven by the prosecution. They are just mere charges referred against him. Anybody can be charged for anything. You can charge anybody for anything under the sun, okay? But you see, you will never get a conviction on any of the charges if you do not provide evidence to those charges, and such evidence must be so overwhelming. They must be proven beyond reasonable doubt, in which case you cannot inculpate the defendant. So none of this has happened, but it's already been treated as someone who is having jail time. And I think this is wrong. The international communities are watching. People all over the world. It affects also how investors and those who want to have relationship with the country, internal and external relationship or international dimension. It defines how they also look at you. Your judicial system and the kind of decision reaching your court system have a lot of economic impact, okay, on the country. As if you
right.
He is agitating for secession.
Well,
Okay,
we certainly want this to come to an end, and come to an end the right way, that the court does what it needs to do, and the rights of every human, especially in this case, the right of Nnamdi Kanu be maintained and not be infringed upon. We certainly will be waiting to see if his lawyers will appeal, and we look forward to having you join us again. Thank you so much for making our time to be with us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Every morning or every other morning here on Breakfast Central, we have a segment we call Which Way Nigeria, where we ask pertinent questions, very important questions, very difficult ones, sometimes sad and heartbreaking, but we must keep asking these questions to hold the government to account. And this morning we have another one for you, so stick around, we'll take it right away.
Now, imagine waking up sometime in the middle of the night to the screams of your neighbors and the sound of gunshots. You peep through your window and you can already see houses burning not far from where you are. You see soldiers, they're camouflaged with automatic rifles firing non-stop, firing into civilians. You rush to, other rooms and gather your family members, your wife, your kids. You pull them together as you start to hear the screams get closer and closer. And then you hear a loud bang at your gate, and you know your chances of survival are close to zero. Death is only just a few minutes away. Your wife and kids are likely to meet the same fate. Sadly, in the hands of soldiers who originally are meant to protect you. Now, it's something that you maybe would imagine to see in a very, very bad movie, but no, that's very likely what the people got to experience, and those, of course, only those who fled prior to that day lived to tell the tale of what happened in Odi, or in Zakibiam, or even in Zaria in 2015, when hundreds or even thousands were murdered by their own military. And for those of us who only heard about it on TV or other media platforms, it's not something that we had the slightest clue about. We can't relate. We don't know the fear, we don't know the tremor, we don't know the panic, the pain, the sound of wailing that causes a lifetime of trauma. We almost cannot relate. We have no idea what that is. And I've seen that that's one of the biggest issues we have as commentators on some of these issues. When out of our own very ignorant anger, we say the army should go back and avenge the death of those 16 soldiers in Delta State, level the place, kill everybody. It's a chilling paradox that exposes the depth of our moral decay, and how we have reached a point where the horrors of collective punishment are not only condoned, but they're even celebrated. Look through social media and see the number of people who made that same statement, that, oh, the army should go and level that place. That's what someone said. How we've also become so desensitized to violence that we no longer see the humanity in those who suffer the consequences of our blind rage. The people in the Niger Delta at this point, they're not our siblings, so we don't care. Whatever happens to them after, when the army gets there, that's their business. Same thing with, those in Zaria the night when the army, of course, attacked the Shiites. It's not the fault of those innocent civilians in those communities that the Nigerian government doesn't have proper security structure to prevent such atrocities from happening in the first place. It's not that old woman's fault. It's not that man's fault. It's not, that young boy, young girl's fault that the government didn't provide initially the structures and, of course, the governance that should have prevented those things from happening, the killing of those soldiers. Now imagine losing a brother, a father, a husband who had no involvement in any of these things. Imagine losing them, because of retaliatory attacks. I've come to understand that many Nigerians need therapy from years and years of abnormality. Many of us now don't see anything strange in jungle justice or collective punishment. So we sit in the comfort of our homes, far away in a different state or even a different country, and demand that the army go and level a community of other people because directly would not be affected. The pain of those who will be affected, doesn't bother you. It is wicked and it is heartless. And so it is my call this morning that we take some time to self-reflect and really, for once, see the pain of our fellow Nigerian as our pain. Call for justice for the slain soldiers, but at the same time demand that it be sought in the right way. Mourn the departed soldiers, but still understand that though the perpetrators of this attack may be guilty, the Nigerian government failed them first. And even those in the army should also understand that though they may have lost their brothers in the military, the government that has failed to fix the ailing structures in the most remote parts of the Niger Delta failed them first and failed them as well. Good morning, Nigerians.
such sad realities, that have been highlighted there, but we will keep talking about them because it is our mandate here to speak up for the Nigerian people, and we will not get tired until we see the change that we desire. As we've come to the end of Breakfast Central, let's share with you what's happening later today on News Central. 11 a.m. West African time, Business Edge comes your way. The Conversation comes your way at 5 p.m. West African time, and tonight, 10 p.m. West African time. Join us.
And it's time for us to say goodbye. We're going to be back here again tomorrow morning on Breakfast Central. For now, we wish you the very best of the rest of Wednesday. I am Okungbowa.
And I am Olive Emodi. Have a lovely day.